Hi, let's install Uptime Kuma. So the first thing you need to do is go to their brilliantly named website, which is uptime.kuma.pet. And then I'm looking for a Docker Compose file. So this right here, this Docker thing is not Docker Compose, but pretty nice that they just have it right there. So I'm gonna go to Docs, and then on the right side it says how to install. I'm gonna scroll down to where it says Docker Compose. You can see the whale here. Example Docker Compose template. I'll click that link. And then I've got what I need here with the Docker Compose. You can just highlight it and copy it, or you can click the copy raw file. Now I'm going to go to my NAS and open up Container Manager, which if you don't have, you can just go to Package Center, type in Container Manager. You can even misspell it, and then you click Container Manager and hit install. So I already have it, so I'll click Open. Then I will go to Project, Create. For project name, I'll type in Uptime-Kuma. For path, I'm gonna go to File Station, and then on the left side here, I'm gonna click on my Docker share. This is a pretty common place to put Docker, any Docker type files. I'm gonna do Create New Folder, and then type in Uptime-Kuma. Close out of File Station. So now for path, I'll hit Set Path, Docker, Uptime Kuma, Select. And where it says Source, instead of Upload Docker Compose, I will hit Create Docker Compose. And now I'm just gonna paste in that Docker Compose.yaml text that I got from the Uptime Kuma website. And I'm gonna make two changes. Actually, I'm only gonna make one change. Under volumes, it says Uptime-Kuma, app data. I just want to change what's here to the left of the colon. So instead of Uptime Kuma, I'm going to create a new data folder. So I'll go to File Station. I'll go inside that Docker share. I'll go back to that Uptime Kuma folder I made. And inside of that folder, I'm going to create a folder called data-uptime-kuma. And then I will right click and go to properties and copy the location. And now where it says Uptime-Kuma, I'm going to replace that with that folder location. And the only other thing I'm going to note is under ports, there are two numbers, one to the left of the colon and one to the right of the colon. I just need to know the one to the left of the colon, although in this case, they're both exactly the same. So 3001. The other change, I lied, I'm gonna make another change. The other change I'm gonna make is I'm just gonna delete this volumes here. So where it says volumes : Uptime-Kuma : I will delete that. All right, and now I'm done. I can hit next. I am not gonna set up a portal via web station, and I will start the project once it is created. Look at it go. It is glorious. Look at it extract. So now it's installing Uptime Kuma. When I said to pay attention to those port numbers, there was one number to the left of that colon that was 3001. The way that we're going to access Uptime Kuma is by going to the URL of our NAS : 3001. We're going to use that port number that we had listed there. And then the other thing is, when I was creating that data folder, if you remember, inside of the Uptime Kuma folder, I created one called data-uptime-kuma. A lot of people, and there's no, hey look, Project Uptime Kuma was successfully built. There's no wrong way. You could name that folder whatever you want. A lot of people, you're going to have a lot of data and a lot of config folders if you put up a lot of Docker containers. So I like to just name it data- whatever the name of the container or project is. That way, if I'm editing different projects, at least I know where I'm at, because I might be editing something in a data folder and I'll forget which project is for, and then maybe I make a change that I didn't mean to. So anyways, okay, so it says exit code 0. That's exactly what we want. That means a success. So I'm just gonna go to the IP number of my NAS, which if you don't know your IP address for your NAS, you can go to Control Panel, Network, and then Network Interface. And you should have one where you're connected. So LAN 1 in my case, and then it should say your IP address, which is probably 192.168.1. something. So I'll type that in and then : 3001, and hey, I'm in Uptime Kuma. And then I can make sure it works. I'll just type in username, say Kuma 999, Kuma 999, create. That's a very safe password, and I'm telling you my real one. So if you go to internet.com/Kuma, that's my information. You can get in there and hack me. Okay, so, and then to make sure it works, I can just click add a new monitor, and then we'll just say Google, and then google.com under the URL, and I'll hit save, and I can see, hey, google.com is up, Google is running, and that's how Uptime Kuma works. You can also use it for your own apps. So for example, we're hosting Uptime Kuma, right? So I can click add a new monitor, and then under monitor type, instead of HTTPS, I'm going to hit TCP port. Friendly name will be Uptime Kuma. Host name, it wants my Synology NAS IP address. So I'll do that. And then under port number, we know that it's 3001. So I will put the port number 3001. I will delete this colon that I accidentally put under host name. And I will hit save. And hey, there we go. So I've got a monitor going for two separate services. I can tell if google.com is up, which probably is. And then I can see whether the Uptime Kuma on my Synology NAS is working. working, and it is. If you try and go to your NAS's IP address /:3001 and it's not working, the two checks I would make are, is your Synology firewall blocking this port? If it is, then you're going to have to go into your Synology firewall settings and open up port 3001. And then the other mistake could be, are you typing in https:// because you should not do that. You should be able to just type in your IP address :3001 and it will work. Don't type in HTTPS. You can also type in HTTP and it should work for this service. Third reason that maybe it's not working is if you're trying to access this through your phone, make sure your phone doesn't have a VPN on. If you're using a VPN, then you might not be able to access Uptime Kuma, because right now it is only available on your network. Only devices that are on your home network or whatever network this is put on are going to be able to access this service at that IP address. If you're trying to make it so you can type in something like uptimekuma.mywebsite.com, that's way out of scope of this video. You're gonna have to look up something like, you have to look up reverse proxies, Nginx proxy manager, or you might even be able to do it with, I think you can do it with the web station setting that was in the Docker Compose. So if you're running URLs through your Synology NAS, that might be one way of doing it. But yeah, so that's how you install Uptime Kuma, and that's how you get it working. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit and give just a little bit more detail on what I did here, because it might be a little confusing if you've never used Docker Compose before. I am going to click here and stop. So I'm going to stop my container, and I should still get the that code 0, which means that it stopped successfully. So error code 0, close. And then I'm going to click on YAML configurations. So this is that YAML file that we made. And I'm going to go back to Uptime Kuma's GitHub and copy that raw Docker Compose file and paste that in here and go over the changes that I made real quickly. A lot of Docker files, the way that Docker works is it will run the script and then install that Docker container and run. That Docker container is kind of its own little world with its own file structure here. So when I go back, I'm going to go back to volumes because that was the first change that I made. This colon is the great divider. So to the right of the colon, that's Docker's world, and to the left of the colon is your world. So this is saying, hey, I have a folder inside of my Docker container called /app/data, and that is where I'm keeping data. And in this case, by data, it probably means, when we launched Uptime Kuma, we made a username, a password, and created 2 services to monitor when we're monitoring Google and Uptime Kuma itself. If I didn't have a volume specified here at all, if I just deleted all of this, what would happen is every time Docker Compose goes down, it's going to delete all that information, because when you launch Docker containers, they start from fresh. So it'll delete all that information and re-up it again. So that means every single time you would launch this container, you would have to create a new username and password. So what Docker lets you do is specify a folder and say, hey, if you just give me a folder on your local machine, in this case our Synology NAS, instead of looking at my data folder, I'll look at your data folder, and I'll make any new information that I have, I'll put it in that folder. And then you can also, I'm not going to ever delete that folder. So when I go down, that folder stays where it is. I'll always look for it in the location that you tell me to, and that's where I'll put new information. So, and that's great for you, because then if you go to your file station Uptime Kuma data folder, you can see all that information is there. And that just makes it easier for you to ever edit or make changes, or if you want to back it up, or let's say you have it backed up and you lost your Synology NAS, you can make that, you can grab this folder from your backups, put it in here, and just say, hey, just point it to that folder, and the next time that your new Uptime Kuma boots up, you'll have all your old information. Right now, if you launched it, it would still work. It's just going to create something called a Docker volume. So that's pretty complicated for me to explain. If you want to look it up, you can look up Docker volumes. But if I type in a / right here to the left of this colon, that means it's going to look for this folder that is just root Uptime Kuma, which we don't have, and it's going to throw me an error if I try and launch it. But if I just put a word without a forward trail, it's going to think, oh, I'm looking for a Docker volume. And I also have down here, I'm going to have to say, hey, volumes, you need to look for a volume called Uptime Kuma, which basically it's doing the same thing. It's going to store those files on my computer in an Uptime Kuma volume, but that's a different way of handling stuff. And I'm I think it's a lot more complicated. If you're just a home lab user, the easiest way to do it is to specify a location and not use Docker volumes if you don't need them, specifically for this kind of data. There might be times when you need it. There are definitely times for it, but I think specifically for Uptime Kuma, just keep the data in a folder locally. Yeah, this Docker Compose is not going to work anymore because I'm going to mess it up, but that's okay. Under ports, I said keep in mind this first port number because it goes number, number. So all you need to know, look right here, they tell you what it is, host port and container port. Host port I can change to anything I want. So I could change 3001 to 5454, whatever this number is, you keep it there. You don't ever change that number and no one knows what it does. But this first number, you keep that port number there. Oh, sorry, this first number you can change to whatever you want, and then that's how you'll access it. So instead of right now, if I type in my Synology NAS's IP address, 3001, it's not going to go anywhere. But if I type in 5454, now it's going to take me to Uptime Kuma because this first number is saying, hey, the way that someone's going to reach Uptime Kuma is by typing in this device's IP address, whatever this first number is. So you don't really need to change it. Typically, 3001 is not going to be used by a lot of stuff. The instance in where you're going to want to change this number is when you already have a Docker container that has that number. So if I had a Docker container that already is using 3001, I could just change it to 3002, and then this will work. But if both Docker containers have 3001, what's going to happen is when I try and launch this Docker container, it's going to throw me an error saying that another port is already using it. Yeah, but the numbers can be pretty random and pretty high. I mean, I know you can go up to at least 32,400 because that's what Plex uses. The numbers you want to avoid, though, in general, you probably don't want to use port 80 or 443. There's a couple of programs that will do that, and they definitely don't need it. But if you ever see that, there's a good chance you can change it. There are definitely containers that need those. Like if you're using Nginx Proxy Manager, that one pretty much needs port 80 and 443. But that is how ports work, and that is how volumes work. So hopefully that's been helpful, and I will try and do a couple more walkthroughs for some other Docker containers in the future.